My parents handed my sister $100,000 and handed me a word. Failure. After that dinner, I stopped calling. 2 years of clean, chosen quiet taught me what air feels like when no one is grading your breathing. Yesterday, Lauren took a wrong turn and coasted past a lavender rise and a tin roof. She recognized my truck, snapped a photo, called our dad, and suddenly my phone lit up. "Is that your property?" he asked, voice soft like a salesman's tie. "It is. Bought with work you called nothing. Built without your hands or your help." He tried a gentler register. "Let's talk like adults." We are. Adults set boundaries. Adults keep gates closed. I ended the call and stood there until the field stilled again. The bees kept working. So did I. If you've lived this math, you know it. They invested in her, so I invested in myself. Lauren made honor roll every year. Dad filmed her award nights like documentaries. I brought home B's and an A-, and he asked what was wrong with me. She played varsity volleyball, he never missed a game. I joined art club, Mom forgot to pick me up. Mrs. Park drove me home, again. Her car heater thawed my fingers and a little part of my chest. 16th birthdays spelled the ledger out loud. Lauren got a car detailed to mirror shine. I got Applebee's and a $50 card. Be grateful, Mom said, smiling for photos that looked straight through me. Lauren left for UCLA fully funded. They hosted a church send-off with speeches and sheet cake. I opened an acceptance to a state school and asked carefully about tuition help. Dad carved pot roast like a judge and said, "We're not paying for that." Mom leaned soft and reasonable, "State schools are for unserious students." "It's still college," I whispered, 14 again in my own throat. He didn't look up. I signed the loans alone, 8% bleeding on every dollar. 2 jobs kept the lights on, library stacks and a diner shift that smelled like coffee and old coins. Winter chewed through my lungs and pneumonia buckled me to linoleum. Urgent care beeped fluorescent judgment. I called home, shaking. Dad prescribed time management. Mom asked if I'd tried vitamins. Naomi's mother arrived with soup. Mrs. Patricia Park, steady and kind, tucked a $500 check beneath the broth. "Not alone," she said. "An investment in your future. Rest. Jobs can wait." I cried until the soup cooled, then slept like someone had finally found the light switch. Therapy followed that winter. Dr. Mercer mapped my family pattern like a floodplain and circled below ground. She named the protective expectation, plan for absence, spare the heartbreak. So I built a new habit, invite people who actually arrive. Graduation tested it. My parents skipped, other people filled the seats. I stopped asking for permission to exist. I started taking attendance. Tuesday dinner detonated later. Pot roast, of course. I'd driven 4 hours anyway, the way old training makes your feet move. Lauren answered a video call, glowing. "We found a house in Marin," she said. Dad leaned toward the screen, voice velvet. "How much do you need, sweetheart?" 100,000 closes the gap. They decided without words. "Consider it done," he said. "We'll wire it tomorrow." My fork clattered against porcelain. "You're giving her 100,000. Mom smoothed a wrinkle only she could see. "We're investing in her future." "What about school for me?" I asked. "You refused to invest," Dad said. "You went to a state school," Mom chirped, almost cheerful. "It's still college," I said, my own voice sounding small. His expression granted over. "You're the family failure, Ava." No one argued with him. Lauren's face flickered, then steadied. She didn't disagree. I stood quietly. "I'm finished with this dinner." "Sit down," Mom snapped. "We're not done." "I am," I said, and left without a coat. Night air bit clean and bright. Tears came on the highway home and then something harder slid into place. By morning I changed my number. Silence became policy. No contact wasn't a stunt, it was healthcare. Holidays tested the new rule. Gil tried every door with familiar keys. Thanksgiving tasted like Thai takeout in soft cartons. I watched movies and breathed. Christmas rang with blocked calls, 17 voicemails performing concern as control. I saved 2 for documentation, timestamped them, transcribed the sharpest lines. Paper holds what memory blurs. I slept better after that. The Parks pulled up a chair for me. Naomi's brother taught me a card game. Her grandmother told immigration stories that felt like anchors. Mrs. Park pressed leftovers into containers. "You belong here," she said. In January, therapy restarted. Dr. Mercer slid over worksheets. "Your parents' voices colonized your thoughts. Let's evict them gently." We labeled intrusive lines by source, Dad said is not truth, and replaced each with facts, dates, deliverables, deposits, referrals. 3 counters per criticism, like reps at a gym. Mechanical at first, then merciful. We rehearsed boundary scripts. I practiced saying no without essays. "No is a sentence," she said. I said it twice, then thrice. I built a cheering section deliberately, people who show up on Tuesdays and also on ordinary Wednesdays. I answered fewer imaginary arguments and more actual emails. Mom tested every boundary anyway. Text swung from syrup to knives. I archived them in a folder. Evidence beats memory during storms. Weeks turned into a new cadence. Breathing learned a steady rhythm. They called me failure, so I revoked their access. Work became refuge, then a launch pad. Freelance first, anything that paid on time. I rebuilt my portfolio at midnight until the case studies spoke for me. Clients stayed when I raised rates. I stopped flinching at silence between emails. A tech company noticed the consistency and sent an offer on a Tuesday, senior designer, real salary, benefits, equity. I signed before doubt woke up. Maya, my manager, valued problem solvers. "Show your thinking," she said. I learned to present without shrinking and to defend the work calmly. The imposter voice quieted under data, ship dates, research notes, outcomes. A year later, promotion landed, lead designer, larger scope, better leverage. 18 months after that, I pivoted to a startup with meaningful equity. 14 months later, acquisition closed clean. Options turned into cash, then into possibilities I could touch. I didn't buy a luxury anything. I bought soil and sky. 40 acres in Soma County, a tired farmhouse, outbuildings that sighed when the wind leaned on them. The inspection listed problems like poetry. I saw sequence, not disaster. Contractors handled structure, well, septic. I took the rest slowly. Weekends smelled like sawdust and primer. My playlist learned every wall. I sanded floors on my knees until the grain rose like a tide. I painted trim after sunset, second coats taught patience without applause. I learned irrigation by failing twice, PVC sings when it seals right. A neighbor named Mark taught beekeeping, calm hands, slow breath, steady frames. Bees trained my breathing back to human. They respect deliberate movements, and I learned to respect theirs. 3 hives became 6 by summer, honey staying floral with lavender. Goats arrived as the funniest lawn crew I'd ever hired. They cleared bramble like comedians heckling weeds. I planted lavender in cautious rows, 5 acres first, then 10. I read extension guides at midnight, pH, spacing, cultivars, harvest windows. The first harvest paid my property taxes. The next paid insurance. I hired 2 high schoolers, Zoe and Liam, fair wages, flexible hours, real training. We packed orders in the barn, laughter tangled with dried stems. Zoe talked about UC Davis one afternoon. I slid extra hours onto the schedule. "Save for tuition," I said. "Your shift will wait." Purpose replaced the old approval chase. Community replaced the empty holidays. In spring I asked for an appraisal, new roof, restored floors, productive acreage. The number landed on a Thursday, 2-3 million, conservative. I set the paper down slowly and went to change filters. Growth looked like hands stained with lavender, not applause. I slept without bracing for judgment. I woke without asking permission. The farmhouse finally felt finished. The fields hummed their steady proof. I planted lavender and outgrew their narrative. Lauren went wine tasting in Soma and found my road by accident. She slowed beside the lavender rise, saw my truck, saw a home that looked settled. She took a photo and gasped. An hour later Dad called. "Is that your place, Ava?" "It is." 40 acres, a renovated farmhouse, I said evenly. "And working fields." "I checked the records," he said, voice thin with surprise. "The appraisal says 2. 3, it does." Silence pressed like the old house on my chest. Then came the pitch, friendly clothes over old bones. "We can help you expand, contacts, capital, real guidance this time." Boundary scripts kicked in like muscle memory. "No," I said simply. "I don't want your involvement." Mom grabbed the phone, breath quick. "Don't be childish. We're family." "You called me failure," I said. "Remember Tuesday dinner? We used tough love," she insisted. "It pushed you to succeed." "It erased me," I said. "Anything I built without you." They tried again the next day, email subject line, investment proposal. I archived it unopened and blocked their addresses. A week later a courier arrived with a plain envelope in Mom's handwriting. Inside, a check for $100,000. "A note, for your college." "Sorry." I sat with it 10 minutes. My hands didn't shake. Then I fed it to the shredder, crosscuts until the numbers disappeared. I wrote one line on a blank page: "You can't buy forgiveness." I mailed the scraps back, certified, and filed the receipt with everything else. Dad switched to performances at the gate, khakis, polished shoes, weekend face. The camera chimed awake. He looked smaller than my memory kept insisting. I pressed the intercom. "Leave," I said, steady. "I only need 5 minutes," he pleaded. I was wrong. "I'm sorry." "You had 26 years, I said. "You used them poorly." "We're your parents," he tried again. "Parents get access." "Access is earned," I said, "not presumed. And not purchased. Can't we move past this?" "You can move," I said. "Without me." "Forgive us," he said, breaking. "I can," I answered quietly. "But forgiveness isn't reconciliation. It isn't access." The motor hummed, the gate stayed closed. He stared, then left after 4 long minutes. The camera blinked back to idle. I logged the visit and watered the beds at dusk. Work holds better than memory. Boundaries hold better than work. Harvest ended with receipts and rest, 6 figures, steady, not a fluke. The fields funded themselves, the farm paid for the farm. Workshops filled before I printed flyers. Teens showed up with careful, eager questions. "Start small," I said, smiling. "Learn your soil before your story." I taught pruning, drying, distilling. They filmed on cracked phones. Evan stacked crates beside me, jokes landing softly. We walked fence lines at dusk. Goats followed like nosy neighbors. I cooked simple dinners and slept, sleep tasted like earned quiet. I kept my tech job part-time, for now that balance holds. The barn got safer wiring. The well house finally got shelves. I updated the autopay dashboard monthly. Taxes, insurance, payroll, all green. Neighbors waved from dusty trucks. Market friends saved me a tent. Zoe left for UC Davis grinning. I kept her summer slot open. Liam learned the press this season and fixed a jam without swearing. I mailed care boxes to the people who showed up. The note said, "Thanks for being here." The blocked number stayed blocked. The gate code didn't change. Some temptations faded with distance, some needed firmer ritual. When intrusive thoughts knocked, I listed facts, orders, invoices, schedules, appraisals. Dr. Patel called it muscle memory. I called it breathing again. Sometimes I stand at the fence while the sun settles low over purple rose and the bees tuck themselves in. I think about that Tuesday dinner I no longer attend. About names I don't answer anymore. I keep the land. I keep my name. If you've chosen boundaries, you're not alone. Tell me how you held them.